Me too.
Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Gourmet Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Emilio in Tennessee. We got Jacob in Wisconsin, at least for the first hour here, as he's a busy man. Tim is on assignment, doing something way more important than talking ball with these knuckleheads. Let's get this thing kicked off, right? Emilio's having an adult beverage right now. All right?
Yeah,
and I'm going to go around the horn here, and I need everyone to pronounce how this daddy soda is.
Hold it up to the camera, Emilio. Hold it up to the camera.
All right. Got it.
Right
all right.
there.
Now, Jacob, you go first. How do you pronounce this, sir?
That is a beer that is named Yinling.
All right. So Jacob says Yinling. All right. Emilio, how do you pronounce it, sir?
That's a Yuling right there, man.
A Yuling.
A Yuling.
And we call it, where I'm from, Yingling. We call it. So I need everyone. Greg Rice said Zima.
It's Yinling.
A Yingling. A
Yingling.
Yingling.
Look at Greg Rice. Thank you, sir. Yingling.
No, that's not Yingalinga. It's
No.
Yingling.
The way Clayton's saying is Ying, like a ring around the rosy type. That's how Clayton's saying it.
It's Yingling.
Yingling.
There it is.
It's Yingling.
Jacob will make it sound like that's how he was saying it when he just said Yunlin.
I won't put up with this. This is baloney.
Unbelievable, man. See
There
this?
it is again. Yinling. Yinling. Like yin. Like
You,
Yinling.
see, you keep saying yin. It's
Like
not yin. It's Yingling.
Yin. Like Y-I-N ling. Yinling.
But Jacob, down here, yins is like a common practice to be. That's how you're talking. That's how you talk to people down here. Yins. We can't be confusing people and beer.
I'm gonna get
Bates
that
got
there.
it again.
Yingling.
Yingling.
here.
Yingling. Unbelievable.
You guys are crazy.
Jacob's the only person I know that would change his answer in
Oh, God.
3.5 seconds, like he said Yingling the whole time. Unbelievable. All right. Bates says Philly area confirmed. Thank you, Bates. Appreciate you. So, all right. Not Yingling. Come on, Clay. Greg Rice. Don't you start with me, Greg. I will kick you out of the car so quick, sir.
Daryl says it sounds oriental.
Daryl, sir. No hate speech on this.
You don't say that.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say that, sir.
Oh, my Lord. Chuck, what are you doing to me here?
All right, let's don't even do this. Let's see. This was a bad. Emilio, I told you this was a bad idea, bro.
Bad idea.
Welcome to the show.
What are you eating right now?
Salami wrapped around cheese. Why are you stressing, Jacob? That's high protein.
Because the second you said that, I just pictured Kevin Malone. I wanted to eat a pig in a blanket. That's what I thought of.
Genoa salami and some sharp cheddar.
All right, man.
Yeah, well, I know this. We've wasted 3 minutes
Too
of my
much
life.
time.
I'll never get back. I'll never get that back. Anything you guys want to open up with here, since we've already completely screwed the show up and went away from the notes?
Yeah, this is a great segment. Did I see that McCarthy got axed by the old Cowboys?
Mike McCarthy?
Yeah. Is that
Jacob, that happened several months. That happened at the end of the season last year.
Several months ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, why is there a highlight right here?
Jacob got that slow.
I swear to God, it popped up as if it was brand new news.
Jacob, that's AI, man. It's taking over your phone.
Okay.
You're gonna have to get a new one.
Chuck said Jacob, LOL.
At this point,
I got a new
Jacob's
coach
I
and
was-
everything.
I was waiting for Jacob to say, "Did you hear the Packers fired Mike McCarthy?"
They got rid of him.
I can't believe this. All right, let's get into.
That'd be great.
I would love to have that, Greg. We would definitely get hit with a copyright, though, no doubt about it. So, all right, let's get into it. AZ Marky Mark in the Patreon questions for the show said, "Hey, Posse and Clayton, I feel the team had a great draft." Clapping emoji. Thank you, sir. PFF scored our draft with a B-. My question to the show and Posse is, how did the other teams in the black and blue division do? Did we step up so we can get back to beating them down repeatedly? So before we dive into kind of a little NFC North preview here, I figured it'd be as good a time as any to do that. What's your all's take on that? Do you feel like the Packers closed the gap and maybe took back over the North with what they did this offseason? And he's asking specifically about the draft, so let's try to keep it there on that topic. But Emilio, you're going to be a problem tonight, sir. You're going to be a problem.
Ron Sample's the problem currently. But, yeah, no, I think that the division itself is obviously getting stronger. With the Lions are going to try to hang as many banners as they can. Vikings, will see what they do coming out of that 14 win that we didn't expect. I think you have to get double-digit wins to get into the playoffs in this division. Mm-hmm. The question is how many teams are going to be, at double-digit this year. I think that's where we're kind of hung up.
Go Pack, go all day says biggest question is, will the Packers have a pass rush this season? That's a great question. Go Pack, go all day. I just hope somehow, some way they can finish in the top 10 in sacks. You know what I mean? If they could do that, that would be a huge step up from last year, right, where they finished 8th in sacks. But anyway, Jacob, sir, how would you answer this question?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but the Bears did themselves pretty well in the draft. I think I agree with Jerry. Minnesota had very few picks, and with their first pick overall, they went with that interior offensive lineman, which I know had a lot of people scratching their heads. I don't think that they addressed a lot of their needs that a lot of my friends that are Vikings fans, they just didn't think that it was an overall good draft whatsoever. Of course, I think somebody said that they got the best grade. Well, that's how it usually works, whatever. But the Lions, I think, had a solid draft. And to be honest, without sounding like a homer, I think the Packers are right up there. And depending on a few of these picks, if they really hit, then I think it's obviously we're going to be homers, and we've spent so much time looking into each of these players, and now we've grown accustomed to the ones we did pick. So there's going to be a bias there. But even if I take a step back, I will. I think that we did good. If I had to grade them, I'd say that we did a solid B. I think that the Vikings are like a C. Detroit, what I'd say a B. Chicago, I'd say probably a B plus.
Gotcha. All right. I personally don't like the whole, grading draft classes. I kind of,
that's stupid.
It's kind of silly, But with that being said, let's kind of dive into the North here, man. As Drew D says, the Lions are trying to get as many divisional titles as we have world championships. That really puts things into perspective, right? Sure. So, all right. So what I did was just a quick little breakdown of the NFC North. Here were the final standings. You had the Detroit Lions in first place at 15-2, the Vikings in second place at 14-3, the Packers in third place at 11-6, and then the Bears sitting at 5-12. We're going to get to the draft classes here in just a second. Just want to kind of look at where each of these teams finished in specific statistical categories and where they need to improve to, for the Packers to potentially take over the North, or, for the Lions or Vikings to potentially lose it. So I just love seeing the Bears down there in the basement once again. Hearing their fans in the offseason, man, you'd think they won the damn North, It's amazing how that works. So one thing I will point out is the Packers, obviously finishing the season on a 2-game losing streak, right? Never want to end the season that way, obviously. Majority of the time your season is going to end with a loss, but they definitely played their worst football down the stretch, in my opinion. And really excited to kind of see everybody get a fresh start this year for sure. So offensive points per play. Would you guys rather jump into the key statistics for each of these teams, or would you rather hit the draft classes first? I'll let you guys call a shot, and then we can come back to the stats if you need to. What do you think?
I'd say draft class if you guys didn't mind.
Cool. Let's do draft classes first then. We'll come back to some of these key statistics from last year. Okay, so obviously the Packers draft class, we'll go through it real quick here. Pick 23 in the first round, Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas. Round 2, pick 54, Anthony Belton, offensive tackle, North Carolina State. Round 3, pick 87, Savion Williams, wide receiver out of TCU. Round 4, you went Barron Sorrell, edge defender out of Texas. Round 5, Colin Oliver, linebacker/edge out of Oklahoma State. Round 6, Warren Brinson, defensive tackle out of Georgia, which if we have time, we'll hit his scouting report today. Round 7, you had 2 picks. Micah Robinson, cornerback out of Tulane. Really excited about the potential upside of him. And then round 7, pick 250, John Williams, listed as a guard out of Cincinnati, although he played tackle in college. So the Packers ended a 23-year streak of not drafting a wide receiver in the first round by selecting Matthew Golden, a speedy playmaker for Jordan Love. Savion Williams adds versatility, drawing Deebo Samuel comparisons. The team focused on offensive weapons early, but addressed defensive needs with Sorrell, Oliver, and Brinson, though some analysts noted they waited late to bolster their pass rush. So that's the Packers draft class. Anything you guys want to add to that draft class? Because what I see there are 3 potential day one contributors, really 4 with Barron Sorrell. I think Barron Sorrell is going to be put into the rotation if he looks as advertised in camp, if that makes sense. But anything you guys want to add to that before we get to the next draft class here?
No, I mean, I think that's fair. I was going to say 4. And I would even maybe throw in, Brinson could possibly be in a rotation a lot more than maybe we're thinking with the lack of Slayton being gone and all that kind of stuff. And like you said, Barron Sorrell, heck, Colin Oliver could beat out McDuffie, you know what I mean? Or some sort of, just make some sort of impact. But I definitely think that the first 4 there have a shot to see some significant playing time. And just in general, I mean, again, we've looked at these guys, but the Packers, all of these guys have a shot at least competing. And if they are, killing it and OTAs killing it in the early season and killing it throughout the beginning of the year, there's chances that they could actually see some playing time, some substantial playing time. And like you said, I agree. Micah Robinson, for whatever reason, just feels like he could be another Valentine,
Yeah,
absolutely. And thinking about it, we talked a lot beginning of the draft. Hey, are we going to go get 12 picks? The problem is, how many spots on this roster do we actually have bringing in all these draft picks? I think that's where we're going to run into that biggest issue. Normally, Goody wants to keep every single draft pick and bring them in. It's going to be tough. I think it's going to be real tough this year.
Yeah. Daryl in the chat says, what if Sorrell becomes the next Clay Matthews because of the 6'3", 256 frame? The thing I like about Sorrell, and we got his chalk talk ready to go. I don't think we'll have time tonight, but it's queued up just in case we do have time. He's a dog, man. You can see him beating double teams with power. He's also got some burst and bend off the edge. He's got that punch pull and rip move, or just punch and pull move. He kind of steers clear of the rip a little bit, which is a good thing given the NFL rules and the fact that offensive linemen can't hold if you use a rip move. So Clay Matthews comp, little too rich for me, Daryl, but I know what you're talking about, man. When you see Sorrell on tape, man, I think there's a legit shot for him to potentially be that third pass rusher on this team. It's going to come down to, I think, him and Brenton Cox Jr. day one is what it's going to come down to. I really do. So, and whichever one of those guys impressed the coaches the most, that's probably the one who's going to get the majority of the snaps coming out in that 3-man rotation.
I think Cox is going to rise to the challenge.
Heard it from a fan right here.
Andy Monday says that Brinson's going to be the new trash can full of dirt. I hope so.
Yes, I believe it.
Right.
All right, so let's move on to the Chicago Bears. And I'm with you, Jacob. I feel like the Bears had a pretty good draft class, and I know people say that every year, but I like what they did, kind of attacking offensive line as well as trying to get Caleb Williams some weapons here. They went Colston Loveland with the 10th overall pick. I think that's a fantastic pick there. Of course, it's hard to screw up a top 10 draft choice. In the second round, they went Luther Burden III. There's a lot of people that like Luther Burden. He was a little bit lower on our board. I don't know if you've got the board pulled up or not, Emilio, but I'd like to see where some of these players were on our board. Not, if you can just read them off whenever you get a chance. If you had to step away, we'll wait till you get back. No big deal. But so Colston Loveland in the first round, Luther Burden, the third, wide receiver out of Missouri in the second, Ozzie Trapillo in the second round. You had Shamar Turner, edge defender from Texas A&M in the third round. Fourth round, Jacob Parrish, cornerback out of Kansas. You guys know we mocked him in our mock drafts a lot because we liked where he sat on the board when we picked a little bit later. Kyle Manangai, is that how you would say that?
Sounds about right. Manangai.
Running back out of Rutgers. And then round 6, you got Steven Saninola out of Vandy. And then you've got round 7, Chris, I want to say Hippo, but
I think it is Chris Hippolyte.
Yeah, Hippolyte, right? Linebacker out of South Florida. A lot of these guys are who? But at least those last 3 picks. But where did we have Luther Burden on our board, Emilio?
On our board, Mr. Burden was 28.
28. So that's a good pick. And listen, I'm not going to just dog these guys because the Bears drafted them. We're going to talk about where they were on our board and where we've seen value, right? That's a good value pick for them at 39, no doubt. Ozzy Trapillo at 41. I can't remember if he was a little lower or if that's about where we had him there as well, Emilio.
Ozzy was 78 on our board.
So that's a little bit of a reach there, quite a reach, about a full round, right? And then Shamar Turner with pick 72.
We've got some Beat Timmy says that this is an inaccurate Bears draft, that the Rutgers running back was in the 7th round, that Ozzy was picked 56.
Really?
And that Shamar Turner was the 2nd round.
Shamar Turner went in the 2nd round?
I don't know.
Let's drop this down. He's probably right.
Let's see. I got it here, actually. Let me see.
Chicago had Colston at 10, Luther at 39.
Yeah, he's right.
Ozzy at 56, Riley Leonard at 62.
Thank you for checking that. Appreciate that. Let me go ahead and pull up their draft class from the website real quick.
Yeah, that back end is completely wrong. Yeah. Shamar Turner was in the 2nd round. Ruben Hippolyte the 2nd was the first guy that we didn't have on our board, Emilio.
Correct.
One of the only that was not on our board. That was in the 4th round. They got Za Frazier, the cornerback, in the 5th round, and they took Luke Newman, your boy, out of Michigan State. They got him in the 6th round, and the 7th round was Kyle Manangai, the running back out of Rutgers.
Good grab there. Thank you for spotting that for us there, bub. Let's see if we can get it to pull up. I'd like to get a visualization of it here.
Mandy was saying that Jacob Parrish got drafted by Tampa Bay. That's right, in the 3rd.
Got it. All right, so that was completely screwed up then.
Buckets
We all make mistakes.
Fired.
Emilio, we all make mistakes, right, buddy?
No, Buckets is fired after an act like that.
Buckets,
He's got a family, dude. Come on.
All right, we're going to have Ad Central here, but here we go. So this is their 2023 class. Wonderful. All right.
We are off to a roaring
I don't want
start.
to pat you on the butt and you poop my hands. So
this is what happens when you try to answer a listener question 30 minutes before the show and go, I'm going to put something together for this real quick. You rush through it. Do they really not have just an image of their draft class? This is unbelievable. I'm just going to pull up ESPN.
That's terrible.
It is terrible, Chuck. I'm glad somebody acknowledged it. Jeez, Pete. All right, here we go. So Colston Loveland at 10. Obviously, that was correct. Luther Burden at 39. Got that. So that was good value there. And then Ozzy Trapillo at 56. So it's still a reach by what, 20-some picks roughly? Is that right, Emilio?
Yep.
All right. Then you got Shamar Turner at 62. Where did you say Shamar Turner was on the board?
130.
130. So that's a reach, right? So maybe this draft class isn't as good as we thought, Jacob, according to our board anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Next, you've got Ruben Hippolyte in the
Reach
round 4.
On the board.
Not even on the board.
Reach of all reaches right there.
Wow. All right, round 5, Za Frazier, 148. Okay.
236.
Reaching.
Luke Newman, 195, offensive lineman out of Michigan State.
I did like Luke, but he's 258.
Reach.
And then round 7, 233, Kyle Mananangai. Right?
Yeah.
142.
Ooh,
So that was a good pick.
Good
That's
deal
good
there. All
So
right.
what according to our board, 3, maybe 4 picks, right? Pretty solid. So, and when you look at like how much did they help themselves in terms of trying to make up some ground in the North, Colston Loveland, I think, is going to be a playmaker. I think that's someone, at least everything we've gotten up to this point, I think you got a legit shot for him to contribute for the Chicago Bears, right? And of course, Luther Burden. Now, listen, there's some people that love Luther Burden in the draft process, and then the second the Bears took him, all of a sudden they don't like him. I don't like that kind of. That's dirty pool where I come from. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's good value. Ozzy Trapillo from that point on, nah. So my question is Luther Burden going to get on the field for the Bears? You know, that's the big question. What do you guys think? Because I mean, they're kind of stacked at wide receiver, right? At least the way the Bears fans talked last year, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to, right? He's a 2nd round draft pick. Because they still got the couple old guys, and then they've got Rome. I think he's a legit 4th round or a 4th string receiver that I think he has to play. You got to get him on there sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to kind of look at Lions offense last year, see how often they went 4 wide of actual wide receivers, because that seems like it doesn't happen as much now in the NFL. You know, if you're going
Bears.
4 wide, right? I mean, you walk out the tight end out there, so yeah, I don't know, man. You do have to get them on the field for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, up next, let's go Detroit Lions this time. All right, number 28 pick overall, Tyleik Williams. I feel like that was a little bit of a reach, Emilio. Is that true? Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, defensive tackle.
Hold on. Yeah, he is a reach. I haven't been clicking on the board in a minute. I'm all over 36.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of a reach, but still within striking distance, right? So, All right. Next, you've got Tate Ratledge with pick number 57, obviously an interior offensive lineman out of Georgia. I know a lot of guys like him a lot.
To the first pick, he was like 3 spots ahead of Matthew Golden. So, you know, we took him in the first as well. Tate Ratledge, 61 on our board.
Yeah, so that's within striking distance there. Pretty solid pick. Next, you got number 70 overall, Isaac Tesla.
That was an interesting one. That was a fan favorite of mine, but I thought that was way too soon. And I think he was one of the biggest reaches.
Yeah, 262.
Damn.
Big reach right there for sure. All right, and then 171, they got Miles Frazier. Pick 196, Ahmed Hassanan, I guess is how you say it.
Yeah, Miles Frazier was a good snag. 103 on our board, guard LSU. And then
solid pick, yeah.
Ahmed Hassani is 231 on our board.
Got it. All right, and then, of course, Dan Jackson, Dominic Lovett, wide receiver out of Georgia as well. Chuck Norris says, I avoid these 3 foods like the plague. So there you go. Well,
Dan Jackson, 475.
Dang. Wow. All right. So there you go. That's your Detroit Lions draft class. What's your all's thoughts there? Do you think the Packers outperform them in the draft, or do you think the Lions come out on top there? I like Tyleik Williams. I really like that pick personally.
Yeah, I thought that was a kind of a weak draft, to be honest. I mean, they definitely did try to go in the trenches. It wasn't terrible. I think Ratledge was good. Tyleik's good. Frazier could be good. Ahmad should be good. Honestly, that's probably not terrible. I don't quite like the last 2 picks, but
yeah, I don't think it's a super great draft. I think they have to make a lot with what they got for sure. But the only one that was really a deal was the Frazier kid, Miles Frazier, the guard out of LSU, Senior Bowl player.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we could get the Vikings pulled up here now. Minnesota Vikings draft class. You've got round 1, pick number 24, Donovan Jackson, guard out of Ohio State. I'm trying to think, was he in the 30s for us, Emilio? Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State.
Jackson, it would be 49 on ours.
Okay, so quite a reach there by 25 spots, right?
Yep.
And then next you got, did they not have a second round pick? They did not.
But I believe he was the second interior O lineman available on the vertical.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know our board, like the first 2 rounds, it pretty much went in order by position for sure.
Yeah, besides Gray Zabel, he was 3rd on the list.
Got it. Interior. All right, next you've got Ty Felton, wide receiver out of Maryland at pick 102. Where do we have Ty on our board here?
Mr. Ty, we liked a lot. We had him at 107.
So right there in striking range for sure. And then all the way down to the 5th round, they go Tyrion, I guess is how you say it, Ingram Dawkins, defensive lineman out of Georgia. And there's Chuck Norris promoting.
320.
320, wow.
Ingram Dawkins, yep.
And Gavin Bartholomew, tight end out of Pittsburgh. Then, of course, Kobe King, linebacker out of Penn State. I want to say we liked Kobe King early in the process, but toward the end, man, we really I don't know, just kind of realized he started sinking on our board the further we got into the process.
Gavin, we had at 364.
Okay.
And who was the last one? I'm sorry. Kobe King.
Kobe King, yeah.
Kobe King was 132.
So that's a solid pick. Okay, so he was higher than I remember. So when you look at the Vikings, what do you think? Packers or Vikings, better draft class?
Honestly, I don't like what they did at all. Like I said earlier, my friends that are diehard Viking fans, they didn't understand the picks. I mean, they needed O-line help, but not necessarily where they took them. They thought they could have gotten a lot better value with that first-round draft pick. They needed a lot of help in the cornerback room, a lot of help in the safety room with how old Harrison Smith is. And you could argue that they probably needed some more interior D-line help, and then probably just more offensive help. And they went with some kind of head-scratching picks like that Georgia guy. They did go Kobe King, but then coming around with Gavin Bartholomew. I mean, I don't know. To me, I don't like any of their picks, to be honest. So I think that we definitely had a better one.
All right, what about you, Emilio?
Absolutely. I'm right there with Jacob. I think that they struggled, man. They didn't have a lot of options and, didn't make great use out of it. Spent a lot of money in free agency too. Yeah.
So when you look at just the draft classes, and that's what AZ Marky Mark was asking, like, who do you think kind of had the better draft classes, essentially what the question was. I think Chicago comes the closest to the Packers draft class, but really when you look at the Packers draft class, the only real reach we had, like where you're like, wow, that's a significant reach in my opinion, was probably Anthony Belton. And again, man, when you look at Goody's track record drafting offensive linemen, you feel pretty good outside of the center position. Of course, I can't remember. He didn't draft Elton Jenkins, did he? Or did he? He may have. Yeah, he drafted Elton Jenkins, didn't he?
Goody did? I think he did.
I think he did.
I believe so.
Yeah. So anyway, you look at your Zach Toms, your Rasheed Walkers, guys like that. You feel real good about how he can evaluate Anthony Belton for sure. I like the Matthew Golden pick. Maybe it's not as sexy as an Ibuka pick would have been, but it's obvious that they like Matthew Golden better than Ibuka. Seemed like it anyway. So now, when you look at what they did last year, and again, remember with the standings, if the Packers truly did come out with a better draft class, you kind of like your standing there with the Packers still winning 11 games. Here's the other thing to take consideration. The Vikings, who's their quarterback now? It's going to be a first-year starter in J.J. McCarthy, right? Sam Darnold he played like an MVP candidate a good chunk, if not all of last season until they got into the playoffs, of course, and they laid the egg, right? Detroit Lions, when you look at what they got returning, yeah, they got pretty much their roster coming back for the most part. Now, maybe they have lost some key pieces, I don't know, but the important pieces I feel like are still there. But they lost their OC and they lost their DC, right? So when you're replacing both coordinators, you got to expect a little shakeup there for sure. Now with the Bears, the big knock on the Bears for me is Caleb Williams just going to hold the rock and allow himself to be sacked after 4.5 seconds all year long again, right? Now, they did protect the football, as we'll get into some of the key statistics. But based off of what we just said, first-year starting quarterback, the division leader losing both coordinators, and the fact that the Packers pretty much had a better draft class, I'm liking our chances of taking the North back, to be honest with you. Now, it's going to be, obviously, you got to get out there and get the job done. But when you look at the offense points per play, these are the three statistics from a team standpoint that I think are most important in determining the value of a team, right? Opponent point or offense points per play. Detroit led the league at 502. What's going to happen to their offense to make that drop? That's the question. They're pretty much getting everybody back on offense in terms of the starters, right? And their weapons and their quarterback and all that. Yep. But they lost their OC. So how far do they sink? Do they sink 4 or 5 spots? Do they stay in first place? You understand what I'm saying? So I can't imagine they're just going to maintain that top spot after losing their offensive coordinator. So
plus, sorry to interrupt you, but isn't Campbell kind of known for not being the brains of the operation in that offense? Like that was definitely the OC, right?
He was never the play caller. I know that.
That's
if that
what I mean.
answers your question, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Now, you got different kinds of coaches. You got some guys that are play callers. You got some guys who are team builders. You got some guys who are motivators, right? He's definitely a motivator. There's no two ways about that.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur, he's a play caller, and then when you look at the Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, play caller. And now when you look at the Detroit or the Chicago Bears, play caller, right? So, yeah, I think if he is truly a motivational style coach, Jacob, then probably going to take a step back, seeing that they're going to be relying on a first-year offensive coordinator. Maybe he's got some experience, the new OC. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, they finished first last year. That was a big difference there. Now you go down, the next NFC North team is the Green Bay Packers at .432 points per play. Right, so they were 8th in scoring last year, a legit top 10 scoring offense. You got Minnesota in the 10 spot at .392. Again, first-year starting quarterback. I can't imagine that improves unless Emilio, either J.J. McCarthy's going to be a dog or they're going to take a step back. There's nothing in between, right?
Yeah, he won Coach of the Year last year. O'Connell did, so it's like I don't know if you're going to have that kind of same season here. You got a different quarterback, you got new pieces. And really, what is JJ going to have? How's he coming back out of that injury? How's it feel? And, getting everybody to gel, all the timing, all those aspects. I think that it's going to be a bumpy start for him. I still think that they probably – I think Detroit and probably the Vikings and us would all break double-digit wins. The question is, how's it going to finish out?
Exactly. All right, so let's see where Chicago was. Looky there, Chicago, 28th.
Ooh.
All-world Caleb Williams with 2 number 1 wide receivers. I'm telling you, they're going to set the world on fire, right? Good running game, too, so we were told by the mainstream national sports media. They finished 28th in the league in points per play, all right? Let's go to yards per play. To me, this is the best judge of how effective is your team at moving the ball down the field, right? Detroit was second at 6.3. Green Bay was 5th at 6.1. Keep in mind, that's with your starting quarterback battling 3 injuries all year long, too.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty darn impressive. And your wide receivers leading the league in drops as well. Yeah. So Green Bay coming in 5th place there. Next will be Minnesota in the 13 spot at 5.5 yards per play. And then, of course, you've got the Chicago Bears dead last, 32nd at 4.5 yards per play there.
They won the offseason, though.
They did, once again. They won last offseason, right?
I know.
One before that, too. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, again, when you look at those numbers and expecting Detroit to drop, I think the Packers could pass them up in offensive yards per play if they do drop because of the OC moving on. And I don't expect Minnesota to jump. If anything, they'll just kind of stay pat. So I think by the end of the year, if barring any crazy injuries within the Green Bay Packers roster, I think there's a decent chance that you will be leading all 4 teams in offensive yards per play. For sure. Next, you've got giveaways. We talk about turnover differential all the time, right? Offensive giveaways per game. First team from the NFC North, looky here. Chicago Bears at a positive 0.9. So they actually protected the football pretty darn well, right? This is obviously less numbers towards the top. Now, again, people pointed that out with Caleb Williams. Man, his touchdown to interception ratio was good for a rookie quarterback. Yeah. And he also just decided to take long sacks over and over and over. Now, when you see this statistic, it really doesn't line up with the previous 2 we looked at, right? So this is a good example of, you can protect the football, but if you're not pushing the ball down the field and you're not putting points on the board, it doesn't make a hill of beans, right? So Chicago did lead there. However, I would expect them to drop in this ranking personally. As the season goes along. Now, Detroit did pretty good also in the 11th spot at 1.1 giveaways per game. Then you had Green Bay in the 17th spot at 1.3. The fact that we won 11 games and we were in the middle of the pack and giving the ball away really, really says a lot about this coaching staff. And then, of course, you got Minnesota tied with us there at 1.3 as well. So anything you guys want to add to the offensive conversation? And based off what we've seen there and the changes that have been made going into this offseason, actually as the offseason's finished now, do you think Green Bay's got a shot offensively to overtake the North?
I mean, I really do. What we just laid out, the changes in Detroit, the changes in Minnesota are pretty glaring. I think that honestly the Bears and us have the best shot of taking another step forward. The Bears, because they've got nowhere to go but forward pretty much in a lot of these categories. But, I mean, honestly, again, not sounding like a homer. If you just look at everything, the Packers were so close. We didn't have a ton of gaps last year. It's just that the gaps that we had became so glaringly obvious in that Philly game and towards the end of the season that was our Achilles heel. There just was no way around it. But, I mean, I think another reason that we won that draft is because we didn't have that many needs to plug and fill. we had a very specific niche of maybe bolstering one more solid offensive lineman, a few more key components on the defensive side, maybe another wide receiver or two, obviously, to kind of mix things up. And we did that and then some. So I think that a lot of these other teams, especially Minnesota, especially Chicago, they just have so many different holes that they need guys to either step in or fill. That's and they tried to do a lot of it in free agency, like Emilio said. And we obviously didn't do barely anything. So I'm kind of confident where we are.
Yeah, Greg Rice says, did Caleb lead the NFL in sacks and holding the ball? I know the last I heard, Greg, I can't remember what it was. It was a national podcast too. Like it was a well-known podcast. I remember they pointed it out that he had taken more sacks holding the ball for longer than 4.5 seconds or longer than anyone else in the league. And the second place person, the second longest one, he almost doubled them, if I remember. So that's what killed their offense last year. There's no two ways about it, Greg. And in terms of Matt LaFleur, I just want to point out, your quarterback battled 3 injuries all year long. He had a huge turnover problem. Your receivers led the league in drops, right? And you still won 11 games and had a top 10 offense. Somebody explain that to me. Can we put some respect on Matt LaFleur's name?
Seriously.
And again, one of the all-time winningest coaches as it sits right now. So I think he's top 20 all-time winningest coaches in the history of the National Football League. So, and again, what he did with Malik Willis too, just plugging and playing Malik Willis in a pinch.
Right.
So,
and big on our defense too, to put us in that situation with the turnovers, with the sim pressure, and hey, we're rolling right into it. Here we go.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Defense, opponents' points per play. All right, so again, toward the top, we're going low number toward the top. Look at Green Bay, 5th in opponent points per play. Minnesota was right above them at 4th. So their defense, very, very underrated last year at a .318. So Minnesota, then Green Bay, then Detroit in the 11th spot at .355. And then, of course, Chicago in the 17th spot at .360. So with Minnesota, I think their defense will probably maintain that level of competitiveness, that level of success when it comes to their defense.
Absolutely.
I could see that kind of stabilizing and them still being a little bit better than the Packers potentially. When it comes to Detroit, I think they'll take a slight step backwards, seeing that they lost Aaron Glenn, their defensive coordinator. So if they drop to around the 14 or 15 spot, obviously that helps the Packers' chances of winning the North. And then Chicago, bringing in a new coaching staff, I'm pretty sure they overhauled the defensive room as well, Emilio. So .360 was their 17th. So maybe they get a little bit better, but I don't think they'll surpass the Packers, who are a top 5 defense last year.
No, I don't think so either. And that's why Jacob left, because he didn't want to hear about the top 7 and getting his tattoo figured out. So I get him on that. But, man, really looking at the defense, Hafley was absolutely was in the bag. We talk about Matt being in the bag. I think Hafley really was with what he was given. A lot of rookies, a lot of young guys trying to figure out what they're doing. And dude, they just performed. I think, like you said, Minnesota is going to be tough. Let's see how their safeties hold up and getting a new one, have Smith back there. And then Chicago, their defense was their strong suit for the longest point last year. And until that Washington game, they thought that defense was going to be shut down. After that, man, I think it just opened up a crater in it.
Definitely. All right, up next. Defense opponent yards per play. All right, Philadelphia, no surprise, led the league at 4.8 yards per play allowed. Green Bay was 5th at 5.2. And then you had Minnesota 10th at 5.3. And then, of course, you probably have – did we already say Detroit? We did not say Detroit, did we? Detroit was 29. Ooh. Look at that, 5.8. So that tells you how good the red zone defense was, right? The fact that they – were able to stay, in the upper half of the league in points per play, but then turn around with yards per play. They got chewed up, 29th at 5.8, tied with Chicago. I can't imagine that. I mean, maybe that will get better this year because it's hard to get any worse, but you kind of like Green Bay's chances there too in terms of what they did in the offseason. Like I think that it'll be them in Minnesota in that regard. It's kind of feeling like if Minnesota had brought back Sam Darnold, I think Detroit maybe takes a step back and Minnesota kind of steps up, and it's Green Bay and Minnesota towards the top. Not that Detroit wouldn't have a chance. Anything can happen. But it kind of feels like Minnesota would have been toward the top. But, man, them going with the first-year starting quarterback, I keep coming back to that. Like, I can't expect them to play better than they did last year on offense. So defense.
No, I mean, we kept saying that with Jordan Love too. I mean, you're going to go through some growing pains. There's no way they're back to 14 this year. So you're going to have to pick a number below that. And like you said, a young guy, new starting, figuring it all out, a lot different game speed and everything. I think Soder makes a good point here. For the Packers specifically, said really need the Packers to control the first quarter on offense this year. Need more fast starts. We were asking for that. And you know what happened was penalties slowed us down. I mean, holding calls, Matt LaFleur, the fact that we had double-digit penalties, like the first month of the season, first 2 months maybe, we were like averaging 10 a game. Mm-hmm. That was a problem. I mean, I think that we need to come out of the gates a lot hotter this year, and I think that we can. You know, you get everyone a year further, and these rookies coming in are more add-on pieces. Last year they were a lot more, like full-on pieces to this team.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Arguably the second most important statistic in the game of football are takeaways, right? You know, forcing turnovers, winning that turnover differential, which drastically increases your chance of winning the ball game. Minnesota Vikings were second in the league last year at 1.8 takeaways per game, right? You want to know why they won 14 games? That's probably the most important statistic right there. They were taking the ball away from their opponent, no doubt. Yep. Next, you had Green Bay in the 6th spot at 1.7. We know that was a big part of our defense, especially in the first half of the season. So kind of helped us get off to a roaring start. Chicago finishing top 10. They're not at 1.4 takeaways per game. But, again, that coaching staff has been overhauled. We'll see if it's to the positive or to the negative there. And then, of course, Detroit 11th at 1.3. I think this is a really, really good statistic to use to go, okay, why did the NFC North dominate the way they did? Got to be the takeaways per game. It really does. So
I think it's true, man. I mean, we were hype at X when we went to Tennessee. We got to see that. I mean, in person, it saved our offense. The fact that our defense had that kind of spark coming out the gate, I think that really saved the offense, gave them time to get their feet under them and go. This year, I don't think we have time really for, get the offense, get their feet under them.
Yeah, and Jair Alexander with the pick six, that was a blast. Right. Yep. LVN, I thought he took Will Levis's life when he sacked him that time. LVN fighting through a double team. Will Levis scrambles out, and he did not see LVN breaking away from that double team. Clean.
Right to the sideline and said, "Thank you to Rashawn. You forced that one."
Yeah, exactly. Pointer Doug says Green Bay at 5. That blows me away. The big thing I think that catches people off guard too there, Doug, is on the offensive side of the ball, man. When you hear people talk about Matt LaFleur and talk about Jordan Love, you'd think they were one of the worst offenses in the league. And they legit were 8th in scoring. They were 5th in yards per play, moving the ball, right? And the only thing that really hurt them the most was that giveaways per game. That's right. It. You get that down under 1, that puts you in the top 10.
Top 10. That's all you ask for. You don't have to be perfect.
Right. Exactly. If you get that around that 1 mark, you're probably going to win another game or two. And where's that going to put you? 12 to 13 wins, right? Yep. As opposed to 11. I'm excited about the schedule release coming up here in less than 2 weeks, right? If I remember correctly. Actually, is it coming out on the 14th? Is that right? We got
the schedule release? Yeah.
Yeah, May 14th, right? Yeah, so we'll have that here coming up real soon. So yeah, we're.
I was listening to a pod about that. The dude that was that does the schedule or whatever. The fact that it's like he goes, well, we want to give the draft its light and all that shining. All right, cool. Let's get the draft taken care of. A little bit of downtime, and then it's like a revamp. We talk about there's not a lot of dead time. Get that revamp. Get the schedule out. People have enough time. But the amount of scenarios that they go through. I mean, they're thinking about like every little thing. You got to worry about Netflix, you got to worry about YouTube, you got to worry about Fox, everybody gets their own cut of the pie, and there's just a lot of moving parts in that schedule, man.
Yeah. So again, when you take everything into consideration, the off-season moves, the coaching staff shakeup, the first-year starting quarterback, I think the Packers got a legit shot to win the North. Mm-hmm. I do. I think there's a legit shot. If we go back to the original standings again, the Lions finished 15-2. I do not see that happening again. Now, could they win 12, 13 games? Absolutely. I don't think they'll sniff 15, though. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say they fall back to 12 or 13 wins. Let's call it 12, right? The Vikings were the first-year starting quarterback. If they drop back to 10 or 11 and the Packers take a step forward at 12 or 13 wins, you could potentially win the North this year, man. You're right back on top. And it's going to come down to protecting that football, man.
Yeah, and I think right here, Greg here, I hope we go undefeated in the NFC North. And Eldergrim said, can't do any worse than last year, only up from here. And that's the truth because, I mean, we would be in better shape if we had won a couple of those NFC North games. You know, the Lions wouldn't be in such good shape. The Vikings wouldn't be in such good shape if we even just split them. I mean, we just took L's just across the board, basically. So that's going to be huge this year. I think Matt's got to set that. That's what, six games that you could come home with a win. That's a third of your schedule right there. That you can take care of, that those teams.
Yep. I like our chances, guys. I really do. I think the Packers got a legit shot to win the North and not give it back. So excited to see the schedule release, and then we can kind of do our annual predicting how many games the Packers are going to win. Last year, I settled in at 10 to 13 wins and finished with 11. I think if Jordan Love isn't battling those 3 injuries, you're probably closer to 13 than you are 11. So, all right, that's going to do it for hour 1. And again, AZ Marky Mark in our Patreon group questions. Thank you so much for that question. I thought that's a fascinating conversation. I'll get the article updated with the proper or the accurate draft picks for you guys and gals, so you'll have that to kind of lean on if you want quick reference to the draft classes from the other teams in the NFC North. So that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we'll see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate y'all.
That is a possum in a dumpster.
It's perfect. Welcome in hour 2.
It's the wrong one. Jeez.
Me and Amelia look like a couple guys who've been out there working our ass off in the sun all day. What's going on?
I thought I had it lined up too. All right.
Let's do this, man. Before we get into the Warren Brinson scouting report, let's talk some rookie contracts real quick. And again, we don't have them all yet, but I'm going to throw this up here and see if we can kind of give you guys an idea of how these are shaking out right now. I wish we could get that sidebar off, but there's just nothing I can do. That's how Spot Track's side is. So first round pick was Matthew Golden, right? His contract is not complete yet. Who was our first round pick in 2024? Help me with this, Emilio. 2024, who was our first round pick? Jordan Morgan. Okay, so let's see around where his contract landed at what, 3.2 million. So probably somewhere in that range. And I don't know if wide receivers are a little inflated. I think they're all slotted, not by position, but where they're drafted. Right?
Yeah.
So the fact that he was, I'm trying to think of what pick he was, like 28, maybe. 20.
I want to say Golden could be close to 4 mil, maybe. Being
so there you go. Yeah. So we'll call it 4 million, right? Second round pick, Anthony Belton, has not been signed yet. And keep in mind, there's going to be a little bit of an inflation to these contracts as well. So like whatever they were last year, you need to tack on, I don't know, maybe 500,000-600,000, something like that. Probably a good starting point. Yep. But last year, a second round pick was our boy Javon Bullard, right? $1.5 million is his cap hit for 2025. So I'd say that's a pretty safe number. Somewhere around $1.5 to $1.8 million will be Anthony Belton's number, right? Third round pick, I believe he is already under contract. And that's our boy Savion Williams. $1.1 million against the cap this year, man. What if you hit on that? What if you hit on Savion Williams?
That's our wide receiver core to a T right now. What if you hit on any of them? I mean, we've been blessed to have them for the 4 years we have had them, you know?
Yeah. Right. And you look at that wide receiver room, man, it is crowded. That's not, you notice Matthew Golden's not on that list either. I mean, that gets crowded quick. But look at the cap hits. Romeo Doubs is your most expensive wide receiver at $3.5 million this year. Then Christian Watson, 2.9, Jaden Reed, 1.9, Mecole Hardman, 1.4, Savion Williams, 1.1, Dontavion Wicks. Dontavion Wicks is going to be making less money than Savion Williams this year. That is wild to think about. Malik Heath, $1 million flat. Bo Melton, $1 million flat. Julian Fleming is on this list according to Spot Track. Did we ever get any confirmation that he did sign with the Packers? I know we heard it early, but he wasn't at the camp, the rookie mini camp.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's legit or not. If anybody can help us out in the chat with that, we greatly appreciate it. Has anybody heard anything about Julian Fleming? Is he actually on the roster or not? That's the big question for me. But, Malik Heath, though, love him and Bo Melton, restricted free agents, right? If Julian Fleming, right? If Julian Fleming is on the roster, look at the advantage of signing those UDFAs. You've got rights to him for 4 years.
Yep.
So if you hit on one of those dudes, you're off and running, man. Sure. Packernet Podcast in the house says, Savion to Wicks, lower your tone when you're talking to me. Love it. Love it. And I really hope Wicks comes out and balls out this year. Last year was ugly. It was tough to watch. His rookie year, if I remember correctly, was our highest graded wide receiver. He might have even graded out higher than Christian Watson, if I remember correctly. If not, he was second. So what if Wicks, that was a sophomore slump, and he returns back to his rookie kind of around that grade, and Savion Williams is a hit, and Matthew Golden's a hit? You're going to look up and go, we've got the cheapest wide receiver room in the league, and these are legit targets for Jordan Love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's exciting.
Right. Because then you're thinking, okay, if we don't sign Rome, Christian, whoever it is, where are they going? Are you getting any trade value out of them? Are you getting any comp picks? It could be the new, backup quarterback room. It could just be our wide receiver room. I mean, you come out with a lot more skill as a wide receiver nowadays. So let's see if they can't, turn it up real fast and make some money. You get in here, you perform for a year or two, and it's like, all right, we don't see you long term. We can go ahead and move you.
Yeah, definitely. B-Time 10 says nothing about Fleming. So it's just fascinating, man. Like it was announced that they signed him. Spot Track usually waits till they have the contract like legit from the league office before they even put the numbers up too. Right. So the fact that they've got him here on a 3-year deal plus a restricted free agency is just, I'm assuming he's going to be on the roster. I just don't know why he wasn't at minicamp. And there could have been a multiple reasons for that happening, sure. But all right, 4th round pick this year. Help me out here, Amelia. Was that Baron Sorrell? Is that right?
That is correct.
All right, Baron Sorrell, $1 million flat. If you hit on him at edge defender, they got him. They got the defensive line all grouped together here. But if you hit on him and you've got a legit edge rusher for the next 4 years at less than $2 million, my goodness, man, that's the same thing with Colin Oliver down there too at $941,000. I mean, you hit on these draft picks, you're crapping in high cotton, no doubt. Nazir Stackhouse Center too, a cool $840K. But look at how many. What if Nazir is a hit, and we got rights to him for 4 years? Yeah. That's what I think about.
Because you take Kenny out of there, it's basically our whole line. Our whole D line is 3% of our cap. If you take Kenny out of there, I mean, with Kenny, we're 10% total for the entire defensive line. That's impressive. Yeah. And they're working the numbers
big time. And I think something will be done with Kenny's $31.3 million cap hit next year. I really do. Like whether they restructure it and bring that number down and he takes a little more team-friendly deal, I don't know if he will, or they just decide to move on from him. I don't know. The fact that they didn't draft a top 3 round 3 tech to kind of help fill in that void in that nickel 4-2-5. If Kenny does leave, that makes me a little bit more like, okay, they'll probably just restructure. Right. But who knows, man? It may fall into place next year. There may be a big free agent out there next year that they could sign and cut ties with Kenny. That could happen as well. So 5th round pick, I think we already covered it. That's Colin Oliver, right?
Yep.
6th round pick was trying to think. Was that Micah?
No, 6th round was the tackle, I believe, wasn't it? Jonah
Williams, is that what you said?
Yeah, 6 was Warren Brinson.
Warren Brinson, got it. Okay, so Warren Brinson on the defensive line, his number $896,000. Okay, and then of course it's Micah Robinson, I believe, if I remember correctly. Micah Robinson $868,000, and then of course you had John Williams at offensive tackle. I think was the 7th round pick. He's sitting there at $865K as well. So. That just wanted to give a quick update. Here's how the rookie contracts are laid out. The big takeaway is this wide receiver room, man. That's where it's going to be. This wide receiver room. If you hit on one of these guys, and Tay Wicks takes a step forward, like he did his rookie year, Jaden Reed, I want to say returns to form, but the only thing Jaden Reed was missing last year was targets. If he'd had, Dontavion Wicks got more targets than him. If he had gotten 20 or 30 more targets, Jaden Reed goes over 1,000 yards and nobody's slandering that name. That's just amazing to me. So, Savion too, man. I mean, just golly, I'm excited.
That's the only problem. Like you want Reed to take off. Where the touch is going to go, though, if Golden gets out there, Savion gets out there, Tucker's going off again, Josh Jacobs needs his, and then you want to get Marshawn Lloyd involved. You want to get Love on the move. All this stuff is going to take into consideration, but you look at this year, we're squared away. Our wide receiver room is under 3%, maybe under 5% for sure, maybe under 3-ish. And moving into next year, we at least have a little bit of a base now. If you're looking at it beforehand, it's like, oh, wow, we got a lot of openings coming into this next year. You pick up 2 more wide receivers for another 4 years. You already have a nice buffer. You basically have 4 ready to go.
Right. Eldegrim says, have Golden and Belton signed yet? I don't believe they have, Eldegrim, but there's nothing to worry about there for sure. Like with the new CBA, I'm not saying you do this, but every year fans on Twitter start getting, well, why haven't they signed yet? Well, they're going to sign. They're either going to sign or they're not going to play football.
Don't they normally sign like 7th? They work their way back, 7th, 6th, 5th, their way back up.
That's the way I remember it happening here recently. Yeah. So nothing to worry about there for sure. Someone said Musgrave as well, big time did. If we look at the tight end position real quick, Musgrave 2.3, Tucker Kraft 1.5. What a steal on Tucker Kraft's contract, man. Ben Sims, I love that restricted free agency next year too. So you
Our
got
tight end room is under what, 2%? It's like, dude, where we got? I feel like we have so much money stashed around. Can we go to the overall? Like none of these guys are breaking most of them are 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7. We have a handful of people over a single digit percentage. I mean, look, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 people over 5% of the cap. 6.
Right. Yeah. And again, Jordan Love leading the way at $29.6 million. Rashawn Gary, $25.7. Jair Alexander, $24.6. We'll see if he's on the roster. Kenny Clark, $20.3. Xavier McKinney, $17.8. Elton Jenkins, $17.6. Josh Jacobs, $11.3. That's that money right there. Josh Jacobs at $11.3 million. Sign me up, dude. Well, golly. Aaron Banks' cap hit. Everybody talking about how that cap, his contract's just over the moon. Cap hit this year only $9 million. Keyshawn Nixon 6.8. Nate Hobbs 5.9. Right, another one of your free agent acquisitions this year. And then of course you got Lucas Van Ness at 4.7. After that, man, it's just change. It's pocket change, sure.
And and I love that Jordan's highest percentage of the cap, 10% is max. You go look at the Cowboys cap. I'm pretty sure CD, Dak, and was it Micah? I'm pretty sure they all have over like 15% of the cap hit each year, and it's like how are you running a team like that? And where is all that money going?
Yep. Harry Cheese says, imagine we can have Savion, Golden, and Watson on the field. Good luck covering and then making the tackle. It's a great point, man. Great point. Put goal. I mean, and that's not even including Reed. Like I'm telling you, Jaden Reed's the best receiver on this team as it sits right now. I think he's better than Christian Watson personally. Now, listen, there's 2 different types when you talk in terms of deployment. Obviously, Jaden Reed's not that dude that's going to line up there at boundary X and you're going to try to take the top off the defense like you do with Christian. But, yeah, man, it's going to be interesting. And the reality is all these guys aren't going to be back, right? They're not. Next year is going to look much different. Go Pack Go All Day says, what Packers wide receivers are not making the 53-man roster? We kind of talked about that the other night. We go back to, gosh, what was that? Was it multi-year? Probably the easiest way to pull up the here we go. What receivers are not going to make the roster? Just kind of recap that again where we hit that. I think it was last night we talked about or a couple of nights ago. Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Nico Hardman, Savion Williams, Dontavion Wicks, Malik Heath, Bo Melton, Julian Fleming, Julian Hicks, Cornelius Johnson, right? You're going to carry 6. Christian Watson's going to start the season on IR, right? So let's say it's Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Savion Williams, Dontavion Wicks, Nico Hardman, Malik Heath. Those would be the 6 I would keep. And you try to stash Bo Melton on the practice squad and call him up when need be, right? Now, they may go away from Nico Hardman and keep Bo Melton. I can understand that too. Me personally, I think I would rather Yeah, I think I would rather have Miko Hardman over Bo Melton just because you got a little – he's the veteran in the room.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He did reach out to already drafted players, first thing off. That's cool. I like that. And, coming into a different team, you got to be ready for something like that. You got to be able to kind of step in. And if you're that – not even a leadership role, if you're just that veteran role, lead with leadership. And that's – I love that he is doing that. Just step right into it, no problem.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Greg Rice says Green Bay should throw Jacobs some more money. I think they will, Greg. I don't know if it'll happen before this season, but you guys remember when they signed him, it was basically a 1-year deal. 1 year structured, I think, in a 4-year package, essentially what it looked like. Yeah, so he's got 3 more years left on his deal. I think they will guarantee him some more money, and I think they should. And I think that's important for the culture. I know there are some fans that hear that and go, nope, he signed the contract. He's got to honor it. Okay, you take the guy that's the most unselfish. He's become the team leader on offense, in my opinion. Josh Jacobs is that dude. And you start shortchanging him, watch that roster, watch that locker room look around and go, damn, if they ain't going to pay him, what are these people, what are they even about?
Dude that was there for every game when we were down a quarterback. Just consistency all around. He was trending. If you scroll down a little bit, they had him a number one. They had him on the sidebar there, trending. Josh Jacobs, trending players there. Okay, all right. Why is he trending? Don't love that, but okay.
Oh, I know why. I know why. I don't like him above Justin Tucker, but I know why. He made some comments on and it wasn't nothing negative, but he was on. What was he on? Was it Bussing with the Boys? It might have been. He was on a recent podcast. So yeah, and it all seemed positive to me.
Gotcha.
He had to say.
Gotcha.
So that's probably why he was trending. So yeah, but Justin Tucker trending for a different reason. Tough look there. So, Joseph, that's perfectly said. I was shocked at how quickly Jacobs made me not miss Aaron Jones. Very well said. Very well said there. All right, Emilio, you want to break down a little Warren Brinson real quick, man?
Let's do it.
All right. So Warren Brinson, obviously, defensive tackle. Was he out of Georgia, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
And taken in the 198th overall pick, I believe it was, if I remember correctly. So we got a little write-up here. You can find us on the Patreon page. Just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access or scan the QR code in the upper right. We're going to be doing another giveaway here real soon. We got a couple jerseys lined up. We're going to be giving away a Dontavion Wicks jersey here real soon. I know that's in the hopper. We got a Dorsey Levens jersey. We got a Lynn Dickey jersey as well, a little throwback to the 80s. So if you're a member here in the Patreon group, that'll get you entered into the giveaways where we will put everybody's name on a wheel, spin that sucker live on the show, and give it away. Probably in another week we'll do one of those giveaways. But appreciate everybody joining in there. You get access to
the one just the Patreon, right?
Just the Patreon. That's right. We're done doing the giveaways for the YouTube memberships because we want everybody to kind of trickle into Patreon. It's basically the same as a membership in terms of the cost, but you get a lot more value in Patreon, and it's just a little bit easier for us to kind of organize everything as well. So you get access to all the chats in there. During draft season, we give you access to our draft board in real time. Emilio is updating it pretty much every day. Get all these write-ups, all the chalk talks. Like when we do the Baron Sorrell chalk talk, which will probably be tomorrow, I would imagine, we'll immediately take that clip, edit it out from the show, upload it onto his page on our Patreon group, and you got that right there at your disposal. So everything.
Yeah. Just a perfect little history thing too, man. I can't wait to dive in. We're in the middle of the season. It's like, what were we talking about for Brinson back there? Let's see what he looks like.
Bingo. That's the big thing with it too. We're gonna do some history segments here real soon as well.
Nice, like we used to.
We'll do like a deep dive on Curly Lambeau, George Calhoun, the kind of the founders of the Packers. Maybe take you back through some historical moments in Packers history. We'll have write-ups on that stuff as well. So it'll be a lot of fun. But again, this is just going to be your PTA hub, right? This is where you go to get all your information on the Packers for 2025 from our perspective here at Packers Total Access. So here we go. Green Bay Packers draft spotlight. Warren Brinson, a stout defensive lineman with run stop and prowess. Green Bay Packers reinforced their defensive line in the 2025 NFL draft, selecting Georgia defensive lineman Warren Brinson with the 198th overall pick in the 6th round. Following earlier picks to bolster Jeff Hafley's 4-3 scheme, the Packers targeted Brinson to replace the run-stopping presence lost with T.J. Slayton's departure to free agency. At 6'5", 315 pounds, the Savannah, Georgia native offers a massive frame, relentless effort, and SEC-tested versatility, making him a potential steal as a rotational lineman with starter upside for Green Bay. Here he was in high school. Look how much bigger this guy is from everybody else. I always love seeing these pictures, dude.
It's like he was like, yeah, I already went to college and just came back for my senior year. Like,
right. So here's the scouting report coming out of high school. A Savannah, Georgia native, Warren Brinson was a 4-star recruit in the 2020 class, ranked as the 283rd overall prospect by the On3 industry rating with a grade of 90.30 at IMG Academy at Bradenton, Florida. I did double check that. So he was born in Savannah, if I remember correctly, and then he went to high school in Bradenton, Florida. All right. 6'4", 290-pound defensive tackle, dominated with power and agility. His senior tape showcased a devastating bull rush, quick hands, and the ability to clog run lanes, earning him All-American honors. Brinson drew offers from Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, and Oklahoma, but committed to Georgia, where he became a key contributor to 2 national championship defense. This guy got 2 natties under his belt, man.
He went to the right team.
Exactly. Here's the PFF grades. Starting in 2020, 44.5. Me no like you that, Jan. 2021, he jumps to a 67.7. 2022 jumps all the way to a 72.3. Peaked in 2023 with a 79.1. Fell back a touch in 2024, but still a solid grade with a 73.9. Obviously, run defense grades what sticks out of the 75.5 with a pass rush grade of 65.1. All right, college statistics. Brinson's 5-year career at Georgia featured consistent production in a stacked defensive line rotation. As a true freshman in 2020, he played in 7 games, recording 3 tackles. 21, he appeared in 12 games during Georgia's national title run, tallying 9 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, and 1 sack. His 2022 season included 15 games, 12 tackles, 3 for a loss, 1 sack, and 14 pressures. 23, despite missing 2 games due to injury, he started at 4 of 13 games, posting 21 tackles, 3 for a loss, 2 sacks. And then his 2024 campaign was his best, starting 8 of the 12 games with 26 tackles, 6 for a loss, and 2 sacks, including 2.5 tackles for a loss and a sack in the SEC championship win over Texas. This is kind of like that Matthew Golden had his best game in the SEC championship. Although they lost, still it's pretty cool to see that. You know, you see those guys.
That's big.
Career tackles ended up being 71 tackles, 14 for a loss, 6 sacks, 1 pass breakup, and 36 pressures across 59 games with 8 starts. So Warren Brinson's RAS score here, Emilio, 9.10, measured in at 6'5", 315, 27 bench reps. That's pretty stout. Look at that explosion grade, man. Vertical jump of 31 inches with a broad of 907. Had a 40-yard dash of 509. So when you look at the RAS card, what sticks out to you is he's got that pedigree, that size that you're looking for a run-stopping defensive tackle, a one-tech to kind of help fill in for the departure of TJ Slayton. That explosion grade's great, man. Really is. So,
yeah,
what do you think about
explosive at that size, at 315, being able to be that explosive, while having physical strength at 27 reps. I mean, he almost hit Green there on the bench, and even his 40 time of a 5.08. That's fast. I mean, you're moving there. If he had gotten half a second there, 5.05, 5.02, something like that, he's probably over in the green. He's probably at 9 something for the run there. He's hustling, man. I'm excited to really see him. We can break down the tape there, but dude can move.
Yeah. Detailed scouting report entering the draft. We just kind of talked about the combine already, so we'll just kind of go through this. Brinson shines as a run defender with a 315-pound frame, leverage suiting him for nose tackle or 3 technique roles in Green Bay's 4-3 scheme. His versatility across alignments, nose, 4-eye tech, and defensive end. That's really impressive. Play some 4-eye and nose. It adds value. However, his pass rush arsenal is raw, relying on power over finesse. What does Greg Cosell say, though? You've got to be able to rush. Got to be able to rush with power in the NFL. If you don't, you can be all flashy with all the spin moves, and it's kind of like, I want to say it was as a Raku, but they said, one scout said he's got too many pass rush moves. He needs to refine just 2 or 3. Like he's trying to do too much. And I think the knock on Ezaraku was he could not rush with power. So that's one of those things where it's like, that's kind of tough, right? Says analysts like Dane Brugler praises explosive moments when penetrating gaps, but he needs to refine hand usage to consistently beat NFL linemen. Lance Zierlein highlights his ability to get skinny and swim and rip into gaps, fitting one gapping defense. His Senior Bowl and combine performance is impressed with fluid movement and physicality for his size. Injury and character concerns. Brinson suffered an Achilles injury in Georgia's 2024 season opener, missing 2 games after 1 snap. He returned for the final 12 games, showing no lingering issues. A 2020 ankle sprain briefly limited practice, but no games. He was fully cleared at the combine, but no medical flags. Off the field, Brinson is a high-character leader, serving as a 2024 team captain and earning praise for mentoring teammates. His Savannah roots and perseverance staying with Georgia's demanding program, where only 5 of 14 in his class remained, fit Green Bay's gritty culture. So another dude that's got that kind of, what do you call it, that loyalty, right?
Yes.
Kind of sticking with what you said you were going to do. I love it.
Absolutely.
All right, so obviously he was drafted number 198 overall. Brinson was a steal with Lance Zierlein assigning a 5th-round grade and Dane Brugler projecting a 6th. His slide likely stemmed from modest sack numbers and a deep defensive line class. Acme Packing Company lauded his potential as a T.J. Slayton successor, emphasizing his nose tackle frame, while GM Brian Gutekunst praised his interior disruption and alignment versatility. Brinson's athletic comps to Daron Payne suggest 3-down potential with pass rush growth. As a 5th Georgia defender drafted by Gutekunst since 2021. That's wild. He reflects Green Bay's faith in the Bulldogs pipeline. Here's what our boy Dane Brugler had to say. A part-time starter at Georgia, Brinson played across the defensive line and head coach Kirby Smart's hybrid fronts, lining up at the 4-eye technique, sliding down to the nose in bear looks, and aligning everywhere in between. His defensive snap count increased each of his 5 seasons in Athens, and he put steady play on tape despite a stat sheet that won't draw the eye. Brinson is fairly stout against the run and works to keep his arms locked out to find the ball and create stuffs. He has explosive moments when he is given the freedom to pursue the pocket. So that kind of shows you when he's in that one tech playing nose, maybe not so much rushing the quarterback. That's probably why the numbers weren't as inflated.
Which is what we ask our defense to do all the time. Punch out, read, react, and at least you're clogging up a lane or two.
Definitely. Overall, Brinson flashes NFL-level play with his ability to get off blocks and force his way through gaps, but excitement over his talent needs to be tempered by his sporadic impact. He offers intriguing tools in an NFL-ready body. Again, Dane Brugler had a 6th-round grade. Here are the strengths. Looks like an NFL player with his height, build, and length. Athletic for his size, including flexibility in his knees and ankles. Plays with battle-ready hands. Uses various swap rip moves to clear path to the pocket. Flashes a decent bull rush when he stays low into contact. Shows off body control on twists and games. We love to run those games up front. There's no doubt about that. Pays attention to gap responsibilities through lateral engagements. His ability to quickly redirect in pursuit helps him get hands on the ball carrier. Self-described, quote, biggest personality on Georgia's roster and hosts several podcasts. We got to check out that pod.
Yeah, what is it? Beyond the Hedges?
I believe it is. Yeah, Beyond the Hedges is what it's called. That's right. All right, here's his background. We'll hit this real quick since we got a couple minutes. I want to get everybody's take in the chat and get your take on him overall, Emilio. Warren Brinson, who has 2 younger sisters, Taylor and Caroline, was born and raised in Savannah, Georgia with his mother, Monique. He started organized sports at the age of 4. Jeez, Pete, 4 years old, organized sports, and often spent time at Harbersham YMCA throughout his childhood. Brinson gravitated towards football starting at the Pee Wee level and continued playing in youth leagues. Since leaving for college, he has returned to Savannah multiple times to help run free youth football camps, including his own defensive line clinic. Brinson is also a hunter, fisherman, and amateur pilot. Flew his first plane in July of 2024. You think he ain't going to fit in Green Bay with that outdoorsman, hunter, fisherman? Him and Quay Walker are going to be out there on a boat in the bay. I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah. They're to take the pond hopper with the pontoons on it, take the plane over there. As long as they don't get the finger in the propeller, Clay, we'll be in good shape.
Emilio, people don't know about the finger in the propeller comment.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's probably best that they don't. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. In 6th grade, he enrolled at Savannah Christian Preparatory School and spent 5 years there. After earning a spot on varsity as a freshman, he collected all-region honors with 41 tackles, 2.5 sacks as a sophomore defensive lineman, helping the team to a 6-5 record and a playoff appearance. After his sophomore season, football powerhouse IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, reached out with interest. Brinson didn't take it seriously because of the cost of attending. In the summer of 2018, however, his mother applied for multiple scholarships and surprised him with the opportunity to attend IMG Academy for his final 2 high school years. So he could not afford to go to IMG, and his mom helped pull some strings and get him some scholarships so he could attend a higher end high school. Absolutely awesome. And so just much like Matthew Golden and these guys and Baron Sorrell, they got kind of a humble upbringing. Really cool. He was teammates with several future NFL draft picks, including safety DJ Turner, edge rusher Nolan Smith. As a junior in 2018, Brinson posted 27 tackles, 7 tackles for a loss, 2.5 sacks. As a senior, he helped the team to a 9-1 record with 30 tackles, 6.5 tackles for a loss, and 3 sacks. Brinson joined the track team in the spring of his sophomore year and had personal bests of 38 feet 10 inches in the shot put and 86 and 2 in the discus. Got it. A 4-star recruit, Brinson was the 30th ranked defensive tackle in the 2020 recruiting class with number 51 recruit in Florida. He had a strong performance at a summer Georgia camp in 2018. And within a few days of enrolling at IMG, received a scholarship offer from head coach Kirby Smart. Brinson officially committed to the Bulldogs toward the end of his junior season, but changed his mind a few months later and reopened his recruitment. He entertained offers from Bama, Auburn, Clemson, Florida, Miami, South Carolina, and others before recommitting to Georgia in July of 2019. Brinson was the 18th ranked recruit in Kirby Smart's 2020 class, which also included Jalen Carter, Broderick Jones, Tate Ratledge, Lab McConkey, and Carson Beck. He took advantage of the extra year of eligibility granted by the NCAA because of COVID pandemic and returned to Athens for his 5th season. Brinson accepted an invitation to the East-West Shrine Bowl. So just a little background on Warren Brinson. What do you think so far, Emilio, as we're getting ready to wrap up this article, man?
I mean, genuine guy. You know, he cares about the family, wants to be close to home. You know, happy that he got to play for Georgia, and the fact that hey, I knew a couple people that went to IMG, for lacrosse and stuff, but it's that you're prime talent, you got to go down there, especially for football. I mean, the fact that you show up, you play with those guys, and then you get a scholarship. It's like, all right, it's like the Senior Bowl for high schoolers. You get up there, you're playing at like almost JUCO level talent still in high school, and then you go ahead and get out there, and you're already getting your name out there. It's like a pipeline and everything. I like that he's committed.
Yeah, I like what Greg Rice says here: 315 pounds with the ability to get skinny, swim, and rip. It's hard to get skinny when you're 315 pounds, right, Greg? Pretty impressive, though. Deployment possibilities. I just let the AI kind of say, hey, in terms of deployment with Jeff Hafley, what do you got here? It says Green Bay Packers will deploy Warren Brinson as a rotational defensive lineman, leveraging his run-stopping ability and versatility in Jeff Hafley's 4-3 scheme with a path to a larger role. Here's how they might use him as his primary role: rotational nose tackle / defensive tackle. Why it fits: Brinson's 6'5", 315-pound frame, 910 RAS, and run stuff and ability make him ideal for nose tackle or 3 technique duty. So think Kenny Clark, right?
Yep.
How do they utilize Kenny Clark as opposed to Devontae Wyatt? I think what you're hoping will happen here is Warren Brinson can step up to the plate and become that number 2 Kenny Clark, essentially. That's what it's kind of feeling like. So,
and I think it's a possibility. I mean, he's got just as good a shot as Nazir does, though Brinson was drafted. I think that either of them have a real good shot. You look at Devontae Wyatt getting that 5th-year option, there's an opening coming up. Kenny at $31 million is not going to happen. So that they need to know if they perform, they can have a spot.
And as Joseph points out here in the chat, Wooden better be working his ass off if he wants any snaps. It's true. To me, Wooden's been the letdown. I think Carl Brooks has kind of held his own. And, Carl Brooks lined up in a one-tech way more often than people realize as well. So right now it kind of feels like maybe he's the guy behind Kenny to play that one tech and that nose, at certain times. However, if Warren Brinson rises to the occasion, guess what? Now you can have Carl Brooks step in behind Devontae White as that backup 3 tech, right? That could happen. So really, really excited to see how that all kind of takes shape for sure. As Daryl says, man, Brinson has that O-line size. Man, he's a big old boy. There's no doubt about it. Probably got decent reach as well. Eldegrim, I think Nazir takes Wooden's roster spot. It could happen. Could happen. Yeah. And with Wooden, what could happen with Wooden is you try to stash him on the practice squad, right? That could be the case. So, all right, Emilio, anything else? Secondary role, just a situational pass rusher there on the inside, 6 sacks, 36 pressures, and 31st ranked pass rush win rate among draft-eligible defensive tackles. Didn't realize that. If that number's correct, they're pulled by AI. That's impressive.
And the fact, think about it, we got them in the 6th round, their 5th round. The fact that we were able to pull, this kind of talent out of that. I mean, from Georgia, Goody's like, how are you telling me that, my favorite school dropped some of their best players just sort of slipped through the cracks, and I was able to pick them up in the late rounds. It's like a late round tackle gem that Goody always finds. I'm hoping that we can get a couple late round, D-line gems.
Yeah. Yeah, so it says Brinson 6 sacks, 36 pressures, and 31st ranked pass rush win rate among draft-eligible defensive tackles per PFF indicate pass rush potential. His quickness and ability to get skinny in gaps per Zerline suit situational rushing. The Packers needing depth behind Clark will develop Brinson's hand usage and rush plan to maximize his pocket pushing ability, leveraging his experience at defensive end in Georgia's third down packages. How he'll be used, obviously, we kind of covered all that.
Scary that Georgia put him outside on the edge, third down. That's unbelievable.
It literally said here, we want you to play nose. All right, now you jump the 4-eye. If you guys are winning, that's the inside shoulder of the tackle, right? And then, you know what? Go to a 5 tech. Get out there on the outside.
It'll be all right. Don't worry about it.
Really, really valuable. Anything else on Brinson at all, Emilio?
No, man. Exciting. Seriously. I mean, the fact that we've been able to find these guys we're lucky.
Yeah. I agree with what Joseph says here, too. Brinson and Stackhouse is ridiculous value. It really is. Really, I love the way that draft shaped out. The one that had a scratch in her head was Belton, right?
Yep.
But again, if you guys watched our live draft party live from Green Bay, it took me just 10 seconds to go, Goody's got a 2nd-round grade on this cat. And then we find out later that he actually had a 2nd-round grade on Savion Williams. And they said that they thought about taking him at 54, where they went Anthony Belton because they probably noticed the run on tackles, and then came back in the 3rd round. Savion's still sitting there. And Goody was talking about, I didn't plan on taking 2 receivers, but the value was just too good. So Savion was sitting there in the 3rd round with a 2nd-round grade. That's wild to think about. So,
man, and I'm so happy we went into the Hall of Fame there, because being able to look at his old board and just get some ideas. Not that ours is ever going to look like that, but just like, your 6'2", 6'7", 6'8", your 7s, where are we at vertical wise, height wise, decimal, all the little nuggets that it had.
Yeah. And it was confirmed. I did look into the fine print and everything. That board we seen wasn't necessarily Goody's board. It was kind of using the media information of how Goody's board would have kind of shaken out.
Got it.
And the fact that they took, they had 3 of our draft picks with 1st-round grades probably was pretty close to it.
Yep.
I was going to run this by you, Amelia. I think it'd be a good idea for next year's draft. What if we tried to come up with a conversion tool to where we take the grades on our board?
Okay.
And that'll determine we can give an NFL grade on it. Like you've seen how an 8.0 is a perfect prospect, right? And then it goes, 7.9, 7.8, 7.7. What it would take some time to do that, but man, that would be fun.
We could, because we had the final number. I think honestly it would be kind of picking our scale and then figuring out, all right, any negative prospect got to be a 7.5 and up probably. If you're negative 15, then all right, yeah, we'll give you an 8, and then we can kind of go from there. I think it's going to be fine tuning those numbers, but definitely a possibility.
Definitely. United Bates with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. For those who haven't seen and may be waiting to plan a trip, full schedule release Wednesday, May 14th, 8 p.m. Eastern. Airbnbs go quick sometimes. That's right. I'm excited about that because we'll be live when that schedule drops. Well, yep. I mean, we go live right when that thing releases. And there'll probably be some leaks throughout the day. So, yeah, I'm with you, Bates. That's going to be a lot of fun.
There's no close games, right? So I'm probably not going to any this year. I know you might be going up to Lambeau and stuff. There's no close ones for us, but I am extremely excited about it.
Who are the away teams? Do we know? Does anybody come to mind right off the bat?
I want to say it was the hold on.
I got it right here. Let me see here. 2025 opponents. Let's see if it shows away or here we go. I got it right here, Emilio. So the away games are Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago, of course, Dallas, New York, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Denver, and Arizona. You're right. There's nothing.
Be the Browns, if anything. And honestly, I'd rather go to like a Cowboys game just because my dad's a Cowboys fan. But then then we're going to Dallas. So
I wouldn't mind to go to Pittsburgh either. I think that'd be a fun venue.
You can take 2 trips up there in a year, going to the draft and the game.
I'm fighting like hell, man. I ain't gonna let Mandy talk me into that. I want to be right here at HQ this year. It's way easier to operate.
Maybe I can feel up there. We can do the draft up there again or something.
Yeah, that was a blast. We need to do that. Just gotta make sure you don't get your fingers stuck in the propeller. Thank you for the super chat, Bates. Appreciate you, buddy. Jerry says your chalk talk on Savion got me very excited to see him in the G&G. Amen. That was one of the easiest chalk talks to do.
Mm-hmm.
We were just like a couple fanboys in there going, man, look at this dude. He's phenomenal. And he lined up everywhere.
He was like Pablo Sanchez in backyard sports, right? You're always picking him because he can pitch, he can catch, he can throw the ball, he can shoot hoops. You put him anywhere on the field, he's going to play.
Yep. I'm really excited to see what Matt LaFleur can do with him. We got IROC in the house. He says, yo, I got my Oladapo card. Thanks again, fellas. Go Pack Go. Glad you got it. I'm getting texts all day of people saying, hey, I got my jersey. I got this. So it's really cool to be able to give back to those of you who are supporting the show. And the best way to support the show, it's Crank.
It is great.
65%. 65%.
It really hits.
Yeah. That might be worth the copyright if we get
we might get hit with that. That's on me. But we slid in the 65. They didn't know. They have no idea. AI is never going to pull that.
There you go. So, again, the best way to support the show is our Patreon group. Scan the QR code in the upper right. It's a really, really cool community that's coming together. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm blown away at the support and how many people's joined. And that's what's kind of lit a fire under me to put more content out on there. Because I want to make sure you guys, again, $3. That's our minimum tier. That gets you access to everything. You'll see a $5 and a $10 tier. That's just if someone wants to give extra, that's cool. And we got several people that are doing that. But just, again, I'm blown away at how many people are supporting the channel. And please don't think we take it lightly. We definitely don't take it lightly.
And the way I was thinking about it, Clay, one trip to Chick-fil-A, right, under $40, you're done. But on top of that, you pay for it now. You're getting all of this year's season. You're going to get all the draft prep for next year and the draft board. And if you hate it by next year, done. I mean, but you still get access to the draft board all the way through. I mean, this would be the time to do it. Honestly,
absolutely.
And it's like you're in the YouTube chat all the time. Like you want to go talk to anyone in there, you go ahead and just message them. You can go to the general chat, any of that.
Yep, and you got a direct line to DM me in there as well.
Me as well. Tim is in there. I think Jacob finally figured it out on his flip phone. We're good.
On his Razor, his Motorola Razor. I want to give a shout out to the newest Patreon members. QU_21 went ahead and did the yearly, just paid it up for the year. You can do that and get a little bit of a discount. That's something that Patreon offers. That's really cool. If you just feel comfortable just doing it month to month, that's cool too. So Q21 went ahead and did the year. Randy in there in a $3 tier. We got Bill Brasky, who did the same thing, buddy. We got David Salento, who's a member of the 450, I believe it is, or the $5 tier, whatever it is. Just wanted to give a little extra. Thank you so much for that. Tyler McCarty went ahead and paid up for the year. You are the man. Holmes MD1 said, give me that $10 tier. I know I don't get anything extra, but he's just supporting the show. Appreciate you. Ryan Jennings on the 4 I don't know if it's 450 or I think it's 450. $4.50 tier. Johnny B went ahead and got it for the year. And Darren Johns, a member of the $3 tier. So everybody, welcome them to the Patreon group. We appreciate all you guys and gals in there. So anything else you got, Emilio, before we get out of here, man?
No, I think that's it. Just another great day to be a Packers fan. I'm glad we got to dive into some of that and just being able to see them as they grow up, see how they act, see how they carry themselves. That's why you think about when Packers take their players, like how are you going to – we know we've been talking about going through adversity, but how you carry yourself head high, are you about football? Because we got time up here in Green Bay and it's time for football season. And I think, honestly, getting drafted to a contending team like us, you kind of get excited like, hey, I could make a name for myself in the most historic franchise there is.
Yeah, definitely. Jerry says, appreciate the show, guys. Thank you, Jerry. You're awesome. Everybody in the chat, y'all make this show what it is. Love talking ball with y'all every single day. And again, we'll go get that article fixed real quick with the correct draft class. It looked like it got a little wonky on some of the NFC North draft classes, so we'll get that straightened out. But really, really appreciate everybody except for Affam. All right, just joking, Affam. We appreciate you too, you knucklehead. But all right, that's it. We're out of here, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live. We'll definitely do the Barron Sorrell Chalk Talk tomorrow. Nice. I'm going to try to throw another report together on one of the rookies here, which I guess after Warren Brinson, who would it be? We just talked about it earlier.
Warren Brinson, it would be Micah.
Would be Micah? Okay.
I believe, right?
Micah Robinson. Whoever's next. You guys should see that pop up, yes. Maybe as early as the morning. Yeah. And that's going to be a fun one, man. Graded out really, really nice at Tulane. So
maybe we'll find some Fordham film. Some Fordham film on him? I don't know.
Well, maybe. All right. Everybody have a great night. Thank you so much. Hit that like button on the way out. Check out the Patreon group. We appreciate y'all more than you know. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Go Pack, go.
There we go.
Bye, guys.